All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and I upgraded from my old Hero 12 to this new Hero 13 almost a year ago. And I would say that the upgrade was worthwhile, but I think there are definitely some pros and cons between the two. It's something that after using it for, I guess, the past 8 or 9 months, I think that it's fine, it works, and for people that have really specific use cases, the Hero 13 is definitely worth it, but for a lot of people, it's probably not worth the upgrade. So in this video, we're gonna kind of compare the two, and I'll share with you my experience after using them, creating videos, and everything else that I do on this channel, so that hopefully this gives you some insight on if it's worth the money. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. Now, just a heads up, I will have links to both the Hero 12 and the Hero 13 in the video description. These are typically available for a year or two, even after release. So when the Hero 14 comes out, these will still be available, just at a cheaper cost. So I buy them through Amazon because they pretty much always do free next day shipping, especially for Prime members. They always have it in stock and they always have better deals than what you can typically get on the GoPro website. So highly recommend using those links if you want to buy either of these action cams, and keep in mind those are affiliate links, so they do help support the channel as well. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at the differences. All right, so let's go ahead and look at both of these action cameras. So we've got the Hero 12 on the right, the Hero 13 on the left, and the main thing you see on the front is this heat sink. So this is kind of what I was really hoping would make a big difference, because the Hero 12, I did experience some overheating. I haven't seen any documentation or anything specifying that this is a heat sink, but that's kind of what it looks like to me. So I felt like that might make a difference, or at least indicate that they were putting some attention to that when they designed the Hero 13. So we'll see. But otherwise, from the front, looks very similar, slightly different form factor for this front screen and how far the display shows. But actually, if you look up close, the actual screen is the same size. It's just kind of this small square that you can see in the background. But yeah, otherwise, size, length, width, height are all pretty much the same. If you look at the left side of the camera, you've got the battery door. On the back of the camera, it's pretty much the whole big touchscreen display, so pretty familiar there. On the left side of the camera, you've got the power button and then the Hero 12 and Hero 13 logo. On the top, you've got the record button, so that allows you to start taking video or take a picture. And then on the bottom, again, you've got the 1/4-inch attachment, so you can put that on a tripod, and then the regular feet that allow you to use the typical GoPro mounting solutions. So overall, from the outside at least, it looks very similar. The main difference is this heatsink looking thing on the front, as well as the bigger looking display window, even though, again, the actual display is the same size. And just a little peek, if you open the battery door, you can see at least the orientation of everything in here is the same, even though the batteries are different and look different. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But once you open it up, you have the same USB-C port, the SD card slot, and then the big battery slot. So first, let's talk about things that are similar between the two cameras. And the main thing that most people care about is the image sensor. Basically, what is the video quality like? And I will say, at least from the technical details of the sensor, it is the same 27 megapixel sensor on both the Hero 12 and the Hero 13. Now, I think the megapixel is a little bit misleading because that sounds really big. It's a lot bigger than some, cell phones and stuff that typically give us like a 12 megapixel camera. So it seems like it might be even better. But in practice, the video quality isn't that great in the grand scheme of things. For an action cam, it's awesome. It's small, lightweight, and can be mounted in a lot of really cool locations, so you can get the exact footage that you're looking for. But for other cases where I've done videos of like interviews and walking around and stuff like that, I find that simply my phone takes a much better video. Even now, you know, I'm taking a video on my Samsung phone, and most of the videos that I take on this channel are just using my phone as well. So it has a very specific use case being an action camera, and I think in those instances it works well, but don't expect it to look as, you know, high quality and stuff as you see in a lot of the marketing. Most of those people do a lot of editing and things like that to create a higher quality video. And I've even taken some of that on. I'll upload the video to my phone and try to mess with some sliders on the apps that I use to try to add a little bit of saturation and just make it a little more vibrant, because out of the box, there's definitely some to be desired. But in the instance of taking an action shot, whether you're driving or out in the wilderness, it does work for its intended purpose, and you're able to get good, clear footage that shows exactly what you're doing. Now, with that in mind, the resolution options are very much the same. So you can film it in 5.3K at 60 frames per second, 4K at 120 frames per second, or 2.7K at 240 frames per second. So you can get really high quality video, even in 4K, which is what I pretty much always film with. I do 4K 60 for most of my recording, but for something where you're just standing still and there's not a lot of movement, 4K 30 will be a great option as well, and it'll take up a lot less memory. They also both use the same video stabilization, so they use the Hypersmooth 6.0 software settings from GoPro out of the factory, so the footage is always very smooth. Even with the footage that I take is mostly driving my car, going on track, driving over bumps and stuff like that. The video quality is still really good. They also use the same video views as well, so you can use linear, wide, hyper view, and it also uses the same horizon lock. So if you want the footage to stay nice and flat with the horizon, it's able to do that in the video software as well. Now, as you saw on the front of the camera, even though it looks a little bit different, they are both using the same 1.4-inch front display, which is really convenient. It sounds weird, but I found, like in my car, for example, if I mount it onto my forehead or onto my helmet and I turn on the GoPro, I can actually look in my rearview mirror and see exactly what the GoPro is seeing. So it's really convenient, especially if you're filming yourself, you know, and you can just kind of tap the touchscreen and get a nice image on the front facing LCD display to know exactly what's kind of in the shot. So it's a little bit small, but it gives you exactly the information you need. And then of course on the back, they have the same 2.2-inch touchscreen, which also will turn off after it's been running for a while, so it doesn't use up a lot of battery. They both use a lot of additional add-ons, and the big one that I'm a fan of is the media mod. It allows you to attach external microphones, flashes, and different things like that. And they both use the same media mod. So thankfully, when I upgraded from the Hero 12, that was something new I had to buy and was a little bit frustrating. But with the Hero 13, I can use the exact same media mod with all these same attachments, and it works right out of the box. But speaking of add-ons, there are a lot of differences as well. And a big one is the kind of value bundle that you get with the Hero 13 is much more substantial. I don't know if I did something wrong when I ordered the Hero 12, but I was expecting it to come with a nice bundle, including a carrying case, and it didn't come with it. But when you get the Hero 13, the actual bundle comes with the carrying case, the selfie stick, it comes with 2 batteries instead of 1, and it comes with the little attachments and the screw that you can attach it with. And it also comes with an SD card, which did not come with the Hero 12. So it kind of feels like a more starter kit, something that you can just take and go with, even if you don't have anything else. And I was surprised to see that that didn't come with the Hero 12. That was one of the things I was a little more frustrated with. I ended up paying less for the Hero 13 on sale, but got more additions with it. So I definitely think it's a better value out of the box. Even now, it being, you know, typically about 50 bucks more than the Hero 12, you probably get more than $50 of accessories with it. Now, the other good thing is that it came with 2 batteries, because the batteries are different from the Hero 12. If you need a separate charger, like I do, I like to charge 2 batteries at a time. So I did have to buy a new one. I got to keep the media mod, but didn't get to reuse the batteries or the chargers I had bought. So thankfully it already came with 2. I bought a charger that unfortunately came with 2 more. I don't really need 4, but it's nice to know that I can just swap them out throughout the weekend and I'm not gonna run out of battery while I'm traveling. And it's not just a different form factor. The battery itself does have more juice, so it's up to 1900 milliamp hours compared to 1720. I'll say in practice, it doesn't seem like it lasts that much longer, but all of the testing that I've seen shows that objectively it does last longer, and I've never had any issues with it personally. most of my track days, I do around a 20 to 30 minute session, and I can get around 3 sessions with the camera using the settings that I do. So that's almost an hour of recording without any issues, sometimes a little bit more, but I try not to squeeze it that close because I don't want to run out of battery and have the camera turn off in the middle of me using it. So usually when the camera is around like 30%, I'll switch to a different battery either way. Now, I think one of the biggest things that they advertised for the Hero13 that I absolutely knew I would not take advantage of are all these new lenses. That's just not really something I care about. I like something that just out of the box, I can turn it on and go. So I really don't want to have to mess with a lot of different things to try to get the exact shot and switch things out all the time. So I don't use it, but there are a lot of lens options that some of you might be interested in. So check out the GoPro website and they'll show you exactly what's available for the Hero13. Keep in mind the Hero12 does have some options, but the huge exhaustive list is what's only available to the Hero13. So it has a lot of different ones that are supposed to make it, you know, wider view or macro view or cinematic view, all of these different things that you can do to make your footage come out exactly how you want. It also has the magnetic clip option, which I think is pretty nice, but I haven't actually used it. It seemed really cool when I saw it, but I never ended up going the extent of actually buying it and trying it out. Some of the pictures and videos that I see make me think that for my use, it might not be adequate. I don't know how strong the magnet is, but for most people that seem to be using it, they have no issues. So definitely worth a shot, just not something I've partaken in yet. And then with the video modes, I think it was interesting that they highlighted they have a new HDR method using HLG. I'm not a videographer, so I'm not very familiar with this, but what it seems like is it's just a slightly different format to present HDR. And this was one of the biggest reasons why I started using the Hero12. The integrated HDR made the footage much, much better. Again, especially in my case where I'm filming inside a car, everything in the cockpit is really dark, but everything outside is really bright. And it made it really difficult for the camera to, you know, calibrate to the brightness. Everything was either too dark and I couldn't see what was going on in the car because it was compensating for the sunlight outside, or everything was too bright to show me stuff that was going on in the car, but all the footage outside of the windows was just blown out. So HDR, I think, was really big for me and something that I was really hoping they didn't screw up. And I can at least say the Hero13 is pretty comparable for my use. It doesn't really give a benefit, but they did at least highlight that they're using this new format for people that care about that stuff. And then they also do the burst slow-mo, which can give you extreme slow-mo shots for very short periods of time. Depending on the resolution and the settings that you use, you can get up to 15 seconds of recording, which translates to a long video. So I would just be sure that this is exactly what you want before using the option, but it gives you really crisp, clear, smooth, slow-mo footage if you see something that's in action and you want to be able to capture it. So even above the regular 240 frames per second, this burst mode will give you even smoother and slower footage for a brief period of time. Another feature you might be surprised to hear I'm not really using is the GPS. So it does have an internal GPS that can give you the overlays for speed and kind of help give you a little bit of unique footage. Again, for my driving style, it seems like that's something I would want to use, but I typically use separate track software for like my lap timer and stuff like that. But it's really cool if you're doing racing and stuff to be able to see that and have it right on top of the footage. So they took that out of the Hero12, unfortunately, heard everybody complain, brought it back with the Hero13. So that's a nice little upgrade. And then the last thing is the heat capacity, which was my biggest issue and what I was hoping it would fix, because I'd never had a GoPro overheat until I bought my Hero12. And even just filming footage outside, I was having issues with it overheating, especially if it was mounted in my windshield. The sun beating down on it would cause it to overheat. And this is in a car with the AC on, but just, I guess, the direct sunlight would cause it to, you know, stop recording after a while. So I was really kind of hoping the Hero13 with those kind of heat sink fins on the front would help address that issue. They didn't seem too substantial, and I hadn't actually seen any documentation or anything specifically saying that those were heat sinks, but that's just what it reminded me of. So I was hoping that was indicating they took some of that into account. And they did at least highlight in the technical documentation that it has a higher operating temperature, so seems like it should have a higher capacity for heat. So I tried recording with it, mounted both of them on my windshield and drove for about an hour to see which one would shut off first. And wouldn't you know, the Hero 12 did shut off first. This isn't a super scientific test, but at least in my experience, the Hero 13 definitely can handle more heat and is more resistant to overheating and shutting off, especially in a case like mine where it's just mounted in the windshield. I guess not getting any direct airflow to cool it off, even though the car was 70 degrees or whatever, I had the AC on. It just couldn't handle the direct sunlight beating down on it. So from that standpoint, I'm able to use it for a little bit longer when I'm doing in-car vlogs and things like that. So I do think they at least helped address that issue. It's not perfect because I've still had the Hero 13 overheat using it for a longer period of time, but I've learned to just take it off of the windshield when not in use so that when I do need it again, I can have it working. So yeah, I think those are the main differences. I mean, there are a couple other little things like it uses Wi-Fi 6 to help make uploads a little bit quicker, but I've moved on to just doing a wired transfer. It's so much faster than trying to do wireless transfer with the GoPro app. It takes forever. And then of course, I think the Hero 13 is like 4 grams heavier, but that's probably due to the battery. So lots of little things are different between them, but nothing that, in my opinion, really matters or affects the end user experience. Largely what I talked about has kind of been my takeaway, and I'll be keeping the Hero 13. I think for the money, it is a much better value. I don't see it as a huge upgrade over the Hero 12 as far as being worth the upgrade, but if I was looking at the two options side by side, I'd pick the Hero 13 every time. So hopefully this answers any questions you guys might have. Let me know if there are any other action cams you think I should try. I know a lot of people are telling me I should try like the DJI or one of the 360 cams. So maybe that's something I'll try out in a future video. But I've pretty much always stuck with GoPro because it just kind of works. I'm familiar with it and it does exactly what I needed to in those situations. So yeah, don't forget to use the links in the video description in case you're interested in buying either the Hero 12 or Hero 13. Otherwise, I think that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.